0864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck. Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound, and spin in! 1 point more to go!
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
It is Thursday afternoon here on the campus of University of Oregon. Jordan Brenner here hosting Duck Insider. Happy you're with us for the next hour. It's a great show because it is game day here at the University of Oregon. Oregon soccer in action at Pat Bay Field tonight at 6 p.m. against Santa Clara. Two big brands on the West Coast duking it out at Pat Bay Field. Santa Clara, that's a great program. National champions in 2001 and in 2020 should be a stiff test for Oregon soccer as they prepare for this one. And then later in the weekend, head off to New York for another ball game there. 6 o'clock Pat Bay Field. Hope to see you there. Additionally, we're getting you ready for Saturday's contest with Eastern Washington. That'll be a 5:30 kick. We'll hear from student athletes Marcus Harper, Rogers and Taki Taimani today on the program. I also had the privilege earlier this morning to speak to the voice of the Eagles, Larry Weir, who's been calling games for Eastern Washington now 31 going on 32 seasons. That's a guy who knows what football is all about up there on the Palouse. I think that's the Palouse, Eastern Washington. Yeah, close enough. Yeah, that guy knows a lot about Eastern Washington football. By the way, a lot of symmetry between Oregon and Eastern Washington in football. A historic performance that many Duck fans probably remember for Cooper Kupp at Autzen Stadium, where he had, well, just about 300 yards and 15 catches against the Ducks. A legendary performance. He's a Super Bowl champion now. How about Vernon Adams starting his career at Eastern Washington and then finishing it at the University of Oregon? I talked about those things and Saturday's matchup with Larry Weir, and here's that interview. And we're lucky to be joined by the play-by-play voice of the Eastern Washington Eagles. This is Larry Weir. He's been doing it for longer than I've been alive. I mean, this is really a legend in the industry, Larry. Thank you so much for being here with us. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jordan. Thanks for the invite. You can tell by all the gray in my beard that I've been at it for a while.
Yeah. Well, what year is this for you?
This is my 32nd year. It'll be my 369th game Saturday when the Eagles visit Autzen Stadium. Second trip to Autzen Stadium. Third trip to Eugene for football or basketball against the Ducks. Eastern played there in basketball several years ago when they had Rodney Stuckey as well. Actually, it'd be my fourth trip because we did one game in the new arena, but we also played once at Mac Court, and that was with Stuckey, was at Mac Court, but we played once in the new arena as well.
Isn't that cool? Every time Eastern Washington comes to Eugene, they always bring one of their best student athletes in history. In football, it was Cooper Kupp. In basketball, it was Rodney Stuckey. Who are you guys bringing this time that we're going to see 15 years from now playing at the highest level?
Well, I don't know if we have any Cups or on this team, or any Kendrick Bournes, or any Samson Abecoms, or any Simba Websters, who were all in the NFL that were on Eastern's roster in 2015. But, you know, Eastern will always bring a solid team at the FCS level. There's probably fewer expectations on this team in 2022 than many of the Eagle teams of the past because of the uncertainty at quarterback. But, you know, if Saturday's game against Tennessee State is any indication, Gunnar Talkington is going to live up to the expectations of the guys who played the position before him and should have a solid year at quarterback for the Eagles. And if that's the case, I think they're probably a top 4 team in the Big Sky Conference, which is one of the best conferences in FCS football.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I want to come back to Gunnar Talkington because he's coming off a huge week. But a tradition on this program, whenever we have a new guest joining us, we always have to ask about a 2-minute life story. And if you can get close to 2 minutes, we have a leaderboard. There have been a lot of interviews. It's a competitive leaderboard, but I'd like to hear about that. Well, tell me about Larry Weir in 2 minutes.
All right. I grew up in a small town in southeastern Washington on a wheat farm and a cattle ranch, and I was an only child. And so when I was growing up, if I was shooting baskets or throwing a rubber ball off a concrete wall or whatever it happened to be, I was doing play-by-play in my head. And I listened to a guy named Bob Robertson, who was a longtime radio voice for Washington State University, and he kind of trained me to do this. I stumbled into my first broadcasting job at 18, was hired by Eastern Washington back in 1991, or by the company Impact Sports that my broadcast partner Paul Sorensen ran at the time, and I've been doing that ever since. Did I get inside the 2 minutes?
You got to around 40 seconds.
Oh, wow. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, your 40 seconds were pure gold. Let me follow up on one part of you that I find particularly interesting. You and Paul Sorensen, you guys have been doing it for a while. Tell me about the broadcast booth at Eastern Washington and the chemistry that has developed over the years.
Yeah, Paul was an All-American safety in his playing days at Washington State, was a fantastic player. After he graduated from college, a few years later, he started a company called Impact Sports. And Impact Sports ended up owning the rights to several of the area colleges, Gonzaga, Washington State, Eastern Washington, et cetera. With the changing landscape in college sports, the big boys kind of weeded out the small fry, and Paul was a small fry. He broadcast for WSU while he had the rights and ended up coming over to Eastern. He had an affinity for Eastern and I guess an affinity for me for some reason as well. And he bailed me out as the broadcast partner right around 20 years ago, and we've been working ever since. And it's a tremendous relationship. I owe it a lot to Paul for my career, and I'm pleased that he's with me in the booth.
That's very cool. Yeah, Paul reached out to me yesterday. He actually said that he played a game at Autzen Stadium, and that when he's not rooting for Eastern Washington or Washington State, Oregon's actually the third team that he roots for. Not going to happen this Saturday, which is understandable, but very cool that there's a long-standing booth like that going on at Eastern Washington. We're speaking with the play-by-play voice of the Eagles, Larry Weir. Let's get into this particular Eastern Washington team. Not the best Eastern Washington team, that's what you just said, but based on what we saw in Week 1, there's potential, it looks like, with this offense and Gunnar Talkington, for the Eagles to be really competitive in the Big Sky. What did you see last week from this team? What did you learn?
Well, Gunnar handled the job very well at quarterback. There were always questions. I mean, Eric Berrier was the Walter Payton Award winner, which is the FCS equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. He was the runner-up in the spring season in 2021. He was a solid starter in 2019 and earned consideration for that award as well. So, Gunnar had big shoes to fill, and nobody knew exactly, whether he'd be able to do that. But he had 408 yards of total offense, which is Berrier-like numbers. So he did very well with that. The offense has skilled position players, that are really good. They've got a lot of depth at running back, a lot of depth at receiver, a lot of depth at tight end, and this year probably more depth than they've had on the offensive line in a while. They're very comfortable with 9 guys playing, and even a 10th as a true freshman who's not in that 9, and he'll likely redshirt this year. So offensively, if Gunnar can perform like he did on Saturday, the Eagles will be one of the top offensive teams in the country. Defensively, there's some hope about this Eagle defense. Sometimes Eastern needs to outscore teams in order to win. They did give up some big plays defensively, and a lot of them were their own fault with poor tackling, poor gap management, et cetera. So they'll need to clean some things up because Tennessee State had a really good quarterback, a really good running back, and a really good receiver, but Oregon's got a lot of guys like that. So it's just not the number one guy. It's down the line, they're all really good and probably better than the Tennessee State guys, given all due respect to the Tennessee State players at those positions. So, that's going to be a challenge for Eastern to control the big plays, the chunk plays on Saturday.
Pretty cool tradition at Eastern Washington. One guy in particular stands above the rest. He obviously is coming off a Super Bowl championship. That's Cooper Kupp. One of his legendary performances at Eastern Washington is when he came into Autzen Stadium. He had 15 catches for 246 yards. Were you on the call for that game, and what do you remember about that performance by Cooper Kupp?
You know, nothing Cooper does surprises me completely. He's a quality football player, a tremendous young man. That game was probably the best game he had against FBS competitions, and he had good games against everybody. He had a tremendous game against Washington State. Eastern beat Washington State in 2016. Had a tremendous game against Oregon State. Eastern beat Oregon State in 2013. Had a great game against the University of Washington, caused Marcus Peters a meltdown on the sidelines. Peters was a first-round draft choice, and Peters ended up getting kicked off the Washington team because he couldn't guard Cooper Kupp defensively. So, he had some big games against FBS competition. The game against Oregon was an eye-opener, I think, probably for a lot of people because of Oregon's program, and they were the 8th-ranked team in the country that year. And Cooper did well in that ball game, and Eastern as a team did pretty well in that game as well. It was a fairly competitive game. Oregon kind of kept him at arm's length from the early going. But Cooper's just a great player, had a great Saturday there at Autzen Stadium, and the Eagles are going to hope for somebody stepping into that role on Saturday and trying to keep the game close going into the fourth quarter.
Out of curiosity, what's Cooper Kupp's connection like now with the Eastern Washington program, now that he's graduated to the NFL and won a Super Bowl championship? And additionally, if you could recall your memory of Cooper Kupp as a player, how he embraced practice, how he composed himself when he was a college football player that maybe led people to believe, like, hey, this guy could actually have success at the next level.
Cooper's everything he does is at 100%. So, he's when football season is on, he's in the film room, he's watching film, he's looking for any little tells that he can use to his advantage on Saturday. On the field, he is going 100% at all times, making it a game-like situation at practice, which I think lifted the whole team in those years, and is part of the reason why Eastern was very competitive in their 2 losses against FBS programs and beat 2 FBS programs in his time. And so getting back to his relationship with Eastern, he's 100% all in with the Rams. So he's not paying a lot of attention to Eastern at this time when his brother Kettner also played at Eastern. When Kettner was still involved with the program, Cooper he came around on his bye week 1 week when Eastern played at Montana State. He will be keeping in touch with the program. I know he cares a lot about the program still, but as I said, he's 100% on the Rams. They've got a big game tonight, and so Eastern is probably on his back burner during football season.
Hey, maybe with the game tonight, he'll be tuning in on a free Saturday this weekend. You never know. There's a lot of symmetry between Eastern Washington and Oregon and history, and a great example of that is Vernon Adams, who set a Big Sky record for touchdown passes in his time at Eastern Washington, and then transferred to Oregon and had a lot of success. What do you remember what do you remember about Vernon Adams in his time at Eastern Washington?
Well, Vernon's another tremendously talented player and a great young man as well. That hurt Eastern a lot going into that 2015 season because they were expecting Adams to Kupp once again in 2015, and Vernon, he was always going to have the knock with the NFL that, he's small and he's from a small school. Well, he could do something about the small school. He couldn't do something about his size. So he elected to try to get to a Pac-12 school, and he ended up going to Oregon. And I think if he could have stayed healthy, he would have had a tremendous year at Oregon, and maybe that would have changed his trajectory when you start talking about the NFL. I would have loved to have seen the 2015 game with the Oregon quarterback in Eastern Washington instead of the Eastern Washington quarterback in Oregon. But Vernon's a great guy. I love to bump into him when I get a chance to see him as well. And I just wish he had good health during that Oregon season in 2015.
Speaking with Larry Weir, the play-by-play voice of the Eastern Washington Eagles. I'll leave you with this, Larry. You've been very generous with your time. What does a successful Saturday at Autzen Stadium look like for Eastern Washington? What are some of the goals for this group this weekend?
Well, I think, the team has 100% confidence they can win, and they should, because if you don't go into a game or a fight or anything else thinking you can win, then why are you doing it? So But from a bystander, from an outsider standpoint, what I look at in these FBS games, you've got to keep the game close. If you can, the longer you can stay in the game, the better chance you have in the end of trying to win the game. So for Eastern, if they can get into the third quarter with a chance to win, then, I think that they probably would take that. I think back to Texas Tech in 2008 when they had Michael Crabtree and beat Texas during that season, or Nevada in 2010 with Colin Kaepernick. They ended the year as a top 15 team. Eastern was down 35-24 in both of those games going into the fourth quarter with the ball, but it didn't break their way in either of those games. If they could have something like that on Saturday where they're within striking range going into the fourth quarter of play, I think Eastern fans would be happy with that, and I think the team probably privately would be happy with that. But then that's when the depth issues start to come into consideration. 85 scholarships versus 63, et cetera, and so just because you get into the fourth quarter with a chance to win doesn't mean you're going to win, because in the Washington State game in 2018 and in some of the other games that have been played since then, including that 2008 and the 2010 games that I referenced, Eastern lost that fourth quarter handily. So, but I think if they can get into the fourth quarter with a chance to win, that would be pleasing at least to the fans and to the onlookers.
Larry Weir, I enjoyed this immensely, and I look forward to shaking your hand come Saturday. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Anytime. Pleased to join you.
That was Larry Weir, the voice of the Eagles, nice enough to join us on Duck Insider. We're going to get a break and come back with several student-athlete interviews. We'll start with Marcus Harper, who had a eventful week one coming in and acting as depth for that Oregon offensive line. Cool story. You'll learn more after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimate CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimate CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back here in the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider is brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. We got the chance to hear from a number of student athletes this week after practice. Marcus Harper was one of them. He had to come into the football game last week, acted as depth after there were some injuries on the offensive line. Talk about a guy who puts his head down and works, never complains. Coach Lanning talked about that in his comments yesterday. Here's Marcus Harper speaking with the media after practice leading up to week 2 with Eastern Washington.
Yeah, it was 1,014 days since the last time I really contributed to a game. So, I mean, it was just fun getting back out there, and I couldn't do nothing but give all glory to God because, I've been in preparation for about 3 years. So,
So clearly you've been counting.
Yeah. I've been counting.
Where were you keeping tally beyond in your head?
I didn't really I knew it was like 2 years in the back of my head. I knew it was in the back of my head, but then I looked at my phone, I want to say like a week before the game, and I was like, okay, it's coming up like a lot of numbers. So then I looked back, and I think the last game I played in was like November 23rd, 2019. I was a senior in high school. And then, I just knew like I was going to play in that Georgia game. And then, I knew it was 1,014 days, so I was just like, I'm ready.
Were you excited? Were you nervous?
I mean, when you prepare the way I prepared for the 3 years, looking at Alex, looking at Ryan, looking at all the vets, how they prepare and everything like that, I didn't want to waste my time. The best thing I knew to do was just, wait for my time to come and prepare the best that I can. So when they called my number, you get a little bit of jitters, but I mean, I've been preparing for this moment for, like I said, 1,014 days. So I mean, I didn't want to go to waste. Like I said, I was just grateful for the opportunity.
It's quite the initial first test. So when you walk out there and Jalen, I don't know how many one-on-ones you got with Jalen, but when you are going heads up with Jalen,
right.
What are you thinking pre-snap?
He's a player like I'm a player. He's a man just like I'm a man. So I didn't really want to emphasize him. Obviously, they're a great defense. They were obviously coached by the best coach in the nation last year. So I knew that they were going to come out swinging, but I also know the type of player that I am and the type of player the guys blessed me to be. So I wasn't going to back down. I've never backed down from a challenge, so I was going to take it head on and then, see what came from that.
How'd you grade out?
I didn't really receive my grade. Honestly, no matter what the coaches give me, I'm going to grade myself a lot harder just because I know I have a high standard for myself. And in the O-line room, we have a high standard as a team, as a unit. So, I mean, it really didn't matter what I graded out. I just know there's a lot more things I can get better at for the next opponent. And so that's really what I'm more so focused on.
How did you grade yourself?
I mean, I had a couple great blocks just being in there and everything like that, but I felt like I had a lot of technical issues I needed to work on, whether I was fitting my footwork vertical into the line of scrimmage, punching with my hands in the running pass game, and just more so just exploding out of my stance. The one thing that I can say going in, just, being out for so long, was just the speed of the game, especially going on guard tap and just getting acclimated to, Alex snapping the ball like that. It's different versus practicing in game. So I felt like when I first got in there, I was a little bit like, just trying to feel it out, just trying to see, okay, what really is the tempo of the game. And then once I got acclimated to it, I was really like, okay, I just got to explode. Like, next week going, running, punching in the running and pass game, and just exploding out of my stance is my biggest emphasis. So.
It's a difficult atmosphere to get reacclimated after 1,014
I mean,
days.
yeah, but I mean, like, at some point, if you have, I have aspirations playing in the NFL, so I mean, I really wasn't too shattered by it just because I know, and two, we got Autzen Stadium, so I mean, like, when you get that on a weekly basis, I mean, you can't really get too shattered by a lot of crowd noise. And then we also, Coach Lennon and the whole staff do a great job of creating those situations for us in practice. So like I said, when I got in the game, for me, it felt like another practice situation because I've repped it so many times. And even over the course of those last 2.5, 3 years, I repped it a lot of times. So, I mean, when I got in there, it's kind of like another day for me.
How have you gone about mentally approaching this moment over the years? Because COVID was a whole mess.
Yeah.
But that notwithstanding, you know who's in front of you, and you know that when those guys are returning, all right, hey, my teammates are back. On the other hand, still waiting. So how have you gone about mentally just approaching this last couple of years?
Like I said, in this time where I wasn't getting in, I really just wanted to just get my spirit right, really, just because I know I really do love the game of football. I didn't want to be one of those guys where I just sat behind and I wasn't improving myself, whether that was physically, spiritually, or mentally. And like I said, over these last, 1,014 days, that's what I've been doing. I've been getting my spirit right. Physically, physically just changing in the weight room, upping my numbers, making sure I'm real cognizant of what the defense does, what everybody does on the field, knowing every position as much as possibly can. So whether it was left guard or going in at right tackle, position flexibility is what I kind of pride myself on doing, and just being able to know multiple positions. So, I mean, I just sat back, watched, and then, like I said, we got great seniors, leaders, Alex, Walk, TJ, Steve, Dawson, George Moore, Sam Patasi, all those guys you just see and you just learn from them all over the years. So I just didn't want to waste those times where I was sitting back behind. I just wanted to just look at what they were doing and how I could put that and how I can make my game better day by day.
How is this week different for you? I realize not the circumstances with Ryan Hurt, but if he's unable to go, that you're preparing to be a starter.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you always prepare. And for me, like, I don't look at it like I said, it's just another week for me. I've been doing this for, 1,014 days. So, I mean, it's another week for me. Like I said, my biggest thing is just emphasizing exploding out of my stance and punching in the running pass game. So, I mean, I can't really complain. It's just, like I said, I'm just blessed for the opportunity, grateful for the opportunity.
And one thing he's just talked about is wanting to make sure practices are harder than games. Maybe that wasn't a successful venture last week. What do you try to do better as a group this week?
I mean, you just try to replicate the game as much as we can. We try to do that more than once. We try to play the game before the game is. Coach Landon does a great job of doing multiple techniques rather than just physically changing the game, physically going out there and practicing and stuff like that. Whether that's visualizing it, seeing yourself make those plays, watching extra film, just always trying to get that 1% better. So like I said, we just try to, all throughout the course of the week, we just try to replicate and get the game done more than once. So when the game happens, we've already seen this before. We've seen what the opponent can do. We've just seen every situation possible. So all we have to do now is just go out there and execute and play football.
When you say get your spirit right, what do you mean by that? What does that look like?
For me, I'm a big spiritual person. So I was born and raised in church, and I've been, you know, I got baptized out here. So I mean, being my spirit right, just making sure I'm in great spirit, just building a relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I've always been, you know, I have a lot of people in my corner that are definitely riding on me, and they definitely want to see great things come from me, and I just know that I can't do none of this without my Lord and Savior. So just me, just every day, that's just what I've been doing, is just building a better relationship with Christ, just because I know He is the one that's done everything. He's the reason I'm here. He's the reason that I was given the opportunity, so I give all the glory to Him. So that's what I mean when I say spiritually. That's just getting closer with Him on a daily basis. So, yeah.
That's Marcus Harper, a well-spoken member of the Oregon football team, part of that depth on the offensive line. Got in there against the Georgia Bulldogs, did some good things. He keeps his head down and works. Casey Rogers, he's going to be in the green and yellow for the first time at Autzen Stadium this weekend. He talked about that with the media this week, and we'll get to that interview after these messages on Duck Insider. It's the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Happy you're with us here on Duck Insider. As I mentioned before the break, Casey Rogers spoke with the media this week ahead of his first game at Autzen Stadium, the transfer into this program from Nebraska, part of that defensive line. Here he is.
What did you see from that Georgia offense and their offensive line, and how they kind of took you guys out of the middle of the field?
Yeah, I mean, those type of games are always tough when they stop running inside the box. As a D lineman, you just got to find ways to make plays, and that's either by, chasing the ball down on the outside or getting to the quarterback or, putting your hands up in the passing lanes as fast as you can. It was a tough game to be a D lineman just because of how much they went perimeter and quick passes, but, we got to find better ways to execute and especially get into plays, even if it's like on the outside of the box or downfield.
As a unit, at least the D-line specifically, what do you feel like you came away from Saturday by way of any answers, anything that you guys put on film that you feel like was going in a positive direction, things that you didn't know that you now know compared to fall camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we put out there is kind of, it's a tough game to really evaluate that just because of the style of play Georgia was rolling with. I think the couple plays that we were able to, they did drop back. I think we did good job getting pressure on them. And then when they did run in the box, they ran in the box a little early. I think we did a good job stopping that, and then they decided to go perimeter on us. So there's always stuff you can take away. Coach T always says good, better, best, and that's kind of something we strive for in the D-line room is seeing what we did good, how to make it better, and then what's the best way to do it. So every game, that's kind of what we do as a D-line. We come in, we debrief, and we find out ways to get better.
This is another team that wants to throw the ball quickly. How do you counteract that as a defensive lineman?
Yeah, we gotta know that they're going to throw the ball quick. That means we got to get our hands up. This quarterback, he's really good in the pocket. He can run and he can throw. So it's staying in your pass rush lanes, keeping them in the trap, keeping them in the pocket, and just doing your job. And like I said, get your hands up because there's a lot of opportunities to bat down passes. And we got to take the things that we did last week and that maybe we didn't do good enough, and we got to be able to do it this week. So. I'm really excited for this challenge, and I'm excited to be in Autzen and do our good, better, best.
Last week, a tough environment to play in. This week, you're playing in front of your home crowd. How is the team feeling?
Yeah, I think the team's very excited. It wasn't like an all crap thing when we lost. It was how can we fix this? What can we do to get better? And I really liked how the team responded to that. A lot of teams might be down in the dumps for a couple days after that type of loss, but not this team. We were back to work the next day. And it shows out in practice on Monday, Tuesday, and today. We want to fix this. That's not Oregon style football. So we're ready to come out and really show our style of football and get this thing turned around.
Dan talked a lot about your identity, like finding your identity on both offense and defense. What do you want to show fans this weekend about that identity?
Yeah, I think our identity wasn't very well showed in that Georgia game, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to show our style of football on both sides of the ball. Defense, we got to play physical, we got to dominate the box, we got to get to the quarterback, and we got to play physical, and that's every game. But I think that's the identity we really want to show is, we're not that team that played down in Atlanta, and we're much better than that. And I think we're going to have a great opportunity to show that this weekend.
You and Jordan both transfer here from Nebraska, but then you guys first starting on the defensive line in Oregon's first game. Just what was that moment like to line up next to him?
It was cool. Jordan and I had obviously taken very similar paths to get here. We've known each other for a while, and we've played with each other for a while. So to finally to get here, to get through camp, and to line up with him to start was, I think that was his first career college start. So I think that to share that moment with him, just because I've seen everything he's kind of went through and all the work he's had to put in, it was a pretty special moment for us. But the moment's only as cool as the outcome, So we got to be able to, it would be cooler if we got to share that moment and win. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what we're up to this weekend, and we're excited. It's behind us. It was a cool moment, but we're on to the next.
Coming in as a transfer, you obviously had an idea of what a game day as a Duck would be like. Is there anything that stood out to you throughout that process, or anything that you remember specifically about that day outside of the game?
As a vet, you kind of there's things that the team does together that were obviously new, different stuff, like different meetings and stuff like that. But as a vet, you kind of know what you got to do to get yourself ready for a game. That's something I was able to do within the schedule of Coach Lanning's pregame scheduled meetings and stuff like that. So the whole game day environment, that was a really cool environment down there. I personally like going into enemy territory like that. It was supposed to be a neutral site, but it's it was pretty cool to come out of the tunnel, see how much red was there, but then see our green up in the stands too. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, no, just to answer your question, like I said, as an older guy, you kind of know how to get yourself ready for games in environments like that. So that's kind of just a typical game day for me.
How would you describe the tenor or just the intensity of practice this week?
Like I said earlier, when we got home from that game, it wasn't all crap. We just lost. It was, all right, let's get this right. Let's fix it. Let's flip this thing around. And it's just been like that the whole week. It's things that maybe would have been not correct right away are now being corrected. Even the little things like maybe taking a false step or something like that, because we got to be perfect, and that's what we strive for, is being dominant and being the best on the field. So to do that, we got to be on top of each other.
How much of that is player-led, stepping up, and whether it's the player himself who makes the mistake, wanting to do that again, or a leader stepping up, hey, we got to do this right?
I think it's everyone within the program. I think it's player-led and coach-led. I think everyone knows what we got to do, and everyone's prepared for all the things you have to do to be able to be that good. So it goes everywhere. It's everywhere within the building. It's that's not, like I said, that's not Oregon football, what we just played down in Georgia, and we're ready to get that right.
Casey, how does having Jordan and Tony as your coach help you get transferred into this program, get comfortable?
Yeah, it's really comforting. It's transferring is not easy. It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but having those guys there, it made it a lot easier than it would have been, especially with Coach T. He knows how I am on game day. I know his language. I know exactly what he expects. And then having Jordan there is just a friend, a familiar face, who knows exactly what I'm going to do, and I know what he's going to do. So it's comforting, but we got to be able to mesh that with everyone else too. So it's pretty cool. Like I said earlier, it was pretty cool to I was in a different color jersey, but with the same guys. You know what I mean? So that was exciting, and it makes it that much easier to have those guys there to really get in the mode to play.
What are some of the differences playing in Nebraska and now playing at Oregon?
It's just different faces, different scheme. When like I said earlier, when you're a vet, you kind of know what to prepare for, what to expect. That was really my first time playing an SEC team. I was really excited to be able to play a team like that, and I think everyone was. So it's pretty similar to game days at Nebraska. Maybe a little different atmosphere-wise, but the good players usually have a good schedule leading up to the game, and that's what we just kept on that schedule so we could be ready to play.
That was Casey Rogers, the transfer from Nebraska, going to be playing at Autzen Stadium for the first time in his career in the green and yellow this weekend. Pretty exciting. Taki Taimani. Yeah, we're wearing yellow. Yeah, just yellow this weekend. Not the green and yellow, just the yellow this weekend for fans as well. We'll get a break, and let's hear from our friends at the Slocum Center and learn about jammed fingers here during this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to the Slocum Center Minute. Slocum Center physicians are located here in Eugene and are the orthopedic team physicians for your beloved Oregon Ducks. With me, I have Dr. Michael Keister, who specializes in non-surgical sports medicine at Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Today, we're talking about sports nutrition. Dr. Keister, please share why sports nutrition is so important for athletes.
It's important for athletes because nutrition provides the fuel to power our workouts. It also provides the building blocks to recover and to build up the muscles once they're broken down during those workouts. And we can't forget the importance of proper hydration. Dehydration can really affect your ability to work out and can get you tired out more easily.
Tell me about some ways athletes can improve nutrition.
One important thing is just eating a balanced diet. And when we say balanced diet, we mean a mixture of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbohydrates should make up about 60 to 70% of the total fuel because that's really the main energy source. And then protein about 15% and fats the rest. I really emphasize to avoid fad dieting. People talk about fats being good, fats being bad, carbs being good, carbs being bad. Trying to stick to that balanced diet is really the best thing. In addition, Lots of water, 2 cups before working out, and then usually almost a cup of water about every 15 to 20 minutes. Sports drinks really aren't needed unless you're working out for maybe longer than 45 to 60 minutes. Just good cold water is plenty to hydrate you in the time for that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kieser, for joining us today and talking about sports nutrition. Tune in next week to hear Dr. Wiest about ACL injuries. That was the Slocum Center Minute, brought to you by the Slocum Center, orthopedic team physicians for the University of Oregon athletes since 1967.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes! So much waiting for me. Yeah, I wanna go outside. I wanna be.
We're here.
Whoa, that was fast.
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by USDA Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back here on Duck Insider, welcome back into the Country Financial Studio. Jordan Brenner here hosting the show. Taki Taimani, a new Duck. He transferred from Washington. He's born in Utah, went to Washington. Now he's a Duck, getting you ready for Saturday's game against Eastern Washington. Here is Taki.
Not the easiest thing to bounce back from.
I guess we're just working a lot harder. That's the biggest thing, is like kind of putting our best foot forward. It's just, it was a rough weekend, and just like having to wait that whole week for another game. You let that stuff eat at you, and then you just come out and you kind of just let that out.
What does that look like for you guys? I mean, I'm sure you guys believed and thought that you were working hard in the lead up to Georgia. I'm sure you were. Yeah.
It was just cleaning up those small details that we saw in the game and like kind of refining that game part. So we watched the film and we watched it as just a unit ourselves, like the D-line room, and then we came to the field and just kind of tweak, like we watch what we did wrong and then kind of refix that, and like we're very conscious about like what we need to fix, and if we have each other watch each other, and if we see those mistakes, we keep correcting it until it's not a bad habit that we have.
Is there anything kind of particular that stood out to you?
For up front was just striking and getting off blocks and tackling. That was the biggest thing, and I feel like all around as a whole team, the biggest thing for us on defensive side of the ball was tackling. We had a lot of missed tackles on Saturday, but I think we cleaned that up a lot. We've done a ton of tackling drills this past week, so I think it really helped. And it's just the way Lanning's preaching it is like a lot of it's going back to when we're not live, it's fully thud, and like he makes sure it's thud, and he kind of gets on us about it, and I really appreciate that, because that's the biggest thing that kind of let us down last weekend.
You guys have good tacklers on this team.
Yeah, for sure.
Tacklers.
Yeah.
But where is the kind of belief in this point that, hey, it's just one game?
I wouldn't say it was just one game. It's just like that, because that game did mean a lot to us, you know. We kind of worked our asses off this offseason, you know, and just to kind of go out there, man, and just not have the outcome we wanted, you know, not put our best foot forward, because I know we're a good team. Like, we're a really talented team. Like, Georgia is too, obviously, but I feel like we didn't really show or kind of show to everyone else in the whole nation, like, the team we can be and the team we will be. So that's the biggest thing. So just kind of, now that it's new, we kind of let it soak in on the flight home Sunday, watch the film, and then now we're just all good. It's like new week, time to really put on display what Oregon defense and what Oregon offense is supposed to look like.
I wanted to ask you about Marcus Harper a little bit. I don't know how much you're going to practice, but obviously he's getting some run with Ryan now.
Yeah.
Just what do you see from him on a day-to-day basis?
Good, aggressive dude. I think he's a good player. That's a good, really good replacement for Walk. Yeah, but I think he's a really good player, and I think he'll step up to that challenge. I feel like our ones and our twos O-line could both start at any time, so that's the one thing I really noticed about that. I'm excited to see him come out and light things up.
Like, you realize you're a newer guy on the team, so you haven't gone through the ups and downs and the whole the season before with these guys. So, but when your debut game is that kind of an outcome, as an older guy, do you feel an onus to kind of take on a big, especially when Popo goes down? Do you feel you need to take on kind of a vocal way of getting the room back together?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like, I've been a part of, like that sucks, you know, like, that's the last thing you want, you know, like a big game like that, you know, to show who you are, and that's what happens, the outcome of it. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not about the outside noise. It's really about how strong is that tests team's brotherhood and connection. Like, that was the biggest thing for us. Is like, we can either sit here and mope about it and be like, man, we lost it, but it's like, all right, how good are we really? Like, how strong is our brotherhood? We talk about it, you know, we put it out there like it's strong. So it's like, you know, that really tested our brotherhood. I think we really came back and we kind of, you know, wrapped our arms around each other. And we're like, man, we're a strong brotherhood. We'll be okay. It's one game. That doesn't let us define it. And like, that's the biggest thing I've noticed about this team is like, that didn't, like, it obviously affected us, but our bond is so good that it's like we kind of just pick each other up and making sure we're all okay. So that was the biggest thing.
How difficult is it to see that for Popo, again, the guy who just spent 9 months rehabbing his way back?
Man, it was a tough one. Me and him are really close. We kind of hung out. I hung out with him yesterday, but we hung out before the trip too, and we just kind of talked, and it was rough, you know. Like, a dude like that, he's really talented. I think he's a really talented dude. So it just hurt to see that, because I know we worked his ass off with the previous injury he had, you know, and he really wanted to play. And I think people don't know the amount of work that he put in to really get back. So it's just heartbreaking, and like the outside noise just getting to him, you know, like, man, it kept like just all the smack talk to him, towards him, like the hate. Like, it's crazy to me because people don't know the amount of work he puts in. So like, for me, that hurts, because I know he loves the game of football, you know, but I know he'll be okay. I know he'll hit this running, and everyone will be excited, you know. It'll be good when he's back.
Speaking of outside noise, I know there was a lot of outside noise you guys probably experienced after this weekend. What do you want to show fans now that you're coming back home? I mean, the first game at Austin. What do you want to prove this game?
Just prove who we are as a team, like how we respond to things and how close our brotherhood is. That's the biggest thing for us. Is like, we talk about no outside noise, you know, and it's like our fan base mean everything to us, you know. We understand that it's upsetting to them too, and it's like that wasn't what we wanted to put on display. But I know this week, with the way we're working, it'll be a good week for us.
I know it's not on one guy, certainly, but Coach is talking about he wasn't happy with third down and red zone today in practice, and obviously that was quite the issue last weekend. I realize you can only do your job and you can take care of the gaps you've got, but from your perspective, what were the issues at times, even last weekend? What have been the issues so far this week in practice, and you guys are still trying to shore up?
I feel like I'll take ownership for that. I feel like just my way of contributing to that our DBs is just getting to the QB. I think that's a big thing as a room we got to work on, is just getting to the QB and giving them, not forcing them to just cover for so long. Like, and I think that was the biggest thing on the weekend too. I didn't feel like we gave enough pressure for our DBs to, you know, because they were out there just running the whole time. So I feel like as a leader of this team, I could take responsibility for that, and just saying that up front we didn't get to the QB enough, and we have amazing pass rushers to do that. You know, that's one of the things we didn't show, is how great our pass rush is, and I think that we will show that this weekend.
It's the misnomer that that's a third down thing, though, Taki, because it's third and short, third and medium, and they were in third and medium and third and short, I think 9 of the 10 times, you know, and 5 times third and 4 or less. It's kind of hard to say, oh, go pin your ears back in those spots. It's really more of a first and second down thing. Is it more of a first and second down? Or you tell me.
I think it's just kind of It's hard to explain. It's just really hard to explain. Like with first and second down, it's just not allowing it too much gain to lead to those short third downs, you know. So it's like if up front we just stop those runs, you know, and we allow ourselves 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you know, that helps a lot with like us rushing the QB. I feel like it gives less pressure for our defensive backs.
And then how would you describe the level of intensity at practice this week compared to last week, you know, coming off a loss?
It's the same level. It's a little bit same level. Our practices are intense, man. We don't let anything affect how hard we work. That's the biggest thing about us. Is like, even though, you know, we might not get the outcome we wanted, you know, we're not going to sit here and mope about it, you know. Like, you come out here, you come to ball, like, that's the biggest thing. It's like, and if you're not ready for that, you'll just get ready for one of the older guys to yell at you to be ready for that. Like, that's the thing about this team is, like, we have so many leaders on this team where it's like, we won't let that energy or that, you know, we won't let you sit there and mope about anything. It's like, when we go out to practice, you better be ready to play, or it's going to be a bad day for you.
You think there's any excitement coming back home, finally get a game in Autzen,
the
home crowd?
Yeah, for sure. That's exciting. I've never played. I played in Autzen in 19, but I haven't really played. It's a fun environment to play in. You know, I know fans are going to be here. It's going to be loud, so I'm just excited to be back here. But just excited another week, so I'm just excited just to be back home, play another game.
I know you talk about your connection with a lot of your teammates. How has that connection really helped you kind of push through this tough loss and come into practice and really make a new identity for yourself?
It's just the connection, but it's like it just helps you want to just be a better person, like, and just help. It helps you want to be a better person, I would say, and just kind of coming out with a good mindset. I just feel like positive energy around us is like a big thing too, because it's just like, you know, some days you come in, you're like, oh man, we had a bad week, you know, like I would say that was how it was on Sunday. Like, we were kind of moping around, you know, and we kind of like broken together, like, man, like, I understand the game's over. It's like Lenny says, we're going to the doctors. Now that's what we did, and like now it's like we went to the doctors. Now it's time for us to take our medicine and just come out with good energy.
It's Taki Taimani. You could tell he's excited to get back out there and prove what this defense can do this weekend against Eastern Washington, a 5:30 kick. A lot more on that game, the fan experience, and some other cool things going on around that game. When we come back, it's Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back here inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union, getting you ready for the home opener at Autzen Stadium this weekend. A last-minute change because of the warm weather. Well, the Ducks are going to be wearing yellow. You should be wearing yellow too. Here are a look at the uniforms. Look at those helmets there. Some black, some yellow. Going to be a great look for the Ducks as they hopefully get back to 500, show some signs offensively. A lot of confidence from the coaching staff in Bo Nix. And hopefully the defense can get off the field a little bit, make some explosion plays that we were all expecting entering the season. Guys like Gonzalez and Flo and Sewell, I expect those guys to look really good this weekend. Last night, Jerry Allen, Mike Jorgensen, and Joey Mack got you ready for the game with the weekly coaches show. One of the coolest moments is when Cam McCormick came on the show, talked about his journey, and then talked about the loss of his teammate Spencer Webb. He's going to be wearing number 18 this weekend to honor his friend and the fallen Spencer Webb. He talked about that last night on the show. I think it's worth running back.
So this is something that's pretty special. We've talked a number of times about the tragedy that you guys have had to go through with the loss of Spencer Webb. This upcoming Saturday, everyone, Cam is going to wear the number 18. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Cam, what led you to do that?
You know, I was really close to Spencer, and obviously the tight end room, a lot of those guys look up to me. And I had talked to them, and I asked them, like, hey, you know, do you guys think it would be all right if I wore Spencer's jersey for this game? And they're like, you know, we wouldn't want anybody else to. They know we were super close. We had both overcome a lot of things, and we were on the, you know, over the hump to, you know, finally be able to play this game together this season. We were super excited about finally being able to play together. You know, we played a little bit against Ohio State together, but, you know, I had got injured. But I'm feeling good this year, and this really would have been our first game, you know, really playing together. So I felt like it was only right to honor him wearing his jersey. You know, I know he had switched to number 4, but all the tight ends, we really know him as 18. So I felt like it would be great to, you know, honor his legacy by wearing his jersey this week.
Yeah, that's Cam McCormick, a player who has been part of the ups and downs of this program, multiple coaching staffs, injuries, and a great friend of Spencer Webb. Both of those guys bonded in a lot of ways because of the adversity that they faced in their lives and how they came together to overcome those things and to start to really enjoy the sweet parts of life. So that's really special. One of the cool things going on at Autzen Stadium this weekend. Cam McCormick going to be wearing number 18 for his fallen friend, Spencer Webb. While we have a second, I wanted to announce an addition to the track and field staff before the end of the show. Jerry Schumacher has boosted his coaching staff. Seth Hansen going to continue to oversee combined events and vertical jumps. Track and field continuing to be a power, adding Seth Hansen to an already impressive group. Another good show today. Thank you for spending it with me. Tomorrow, maybe the best show of the week. Pac-12 picks coming in this studio. You're going to want to be there. Thanks, everybody, and go Ducks.
To your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating world.